Hi, this is People, Places, and Things and in History. This is Carol Church coming at you. This is a brand new one, guys. Happy Monday. Yeah, I know we have to all go back to work, but here we go. I was wondering if anybody ever remembered that across from the Franklin Sausage Mill there was a house. There was not Quick Check in the day. This is the house. This house was so scary, we think it was actually on a movie. Yes, we seen movie production in there one day as we drove by, but we never could figure out which movie it is. I can't find it on the internet. And yes, this house was haunted. I think this one was on Psycho. It was the last one. It was where he was trying to kill his wife and his kid. But this one actually was a haunted house. This haunted house was actually in the back. We knew a guy, he reported it was always haunted. You had strange things happen around the property. Guys, do you think it's possible to stand in 3 states at once? Yes, here's the rock to prove it. This one goes from PA, New York State, and you actually stand in New Jersey. Yes, this is the corner. It's at a grave site. It's actually in Port Jervis, New York. You have to go across through Port off of 84. It's just right across that little bridge. You see the first one on your left. You turn right there. If you're coming out of Port, it'll be on your right. It's the last gravestone. So right in there, you turn there, and it's actually, you could stand in 3 states at once, guys. You could stand in New York State, you could stand in New Jersey, and PA. And you might get a haunting on this one because it's right in the grave site. Yes, a haunting of your own. But you could stand at 3 spots, but you want to watch it because you could have 3 types of cops come after you. So be careful what you do there. The Hawk's Nest is a winding road coming from Port Jervis and Sparrowbush. You go in the pit Sparrowbush, past there, and you're going towards Narrowsburg. It's a windy road, yes, and they have reported cars have actually gotten real severe accidents when it's icy, snowy, or whatever. Guys, be careful. It's really pretty during the actual fall time. You get to see the colors, you get to see the rivers. They got the part where you can pull off at certain parts, but you have to actually watch out because some of those boulders will come off the roof, the side of the mountain, fall down and go on your car and go plop. But another thing a lot of people does not realize about the Hawk's Nest, they have had 3 people or more when I was younger jump to their death. And yes, and many people in the canoes has actually drowned. So, it might be pretty, but you have to watch it. Another thing, they were also in actual commercials. I could swear it might have been in a movie, but I'm not sure. So when they have production, guys, you can't go on the Hawk's Nest, I'm sorry to say. Boo, because we would all like to be part of the commercial, but that is something they decide. The next one is, this is the Wantage Sussex School. Yes, of all places, I have to put this one in. My mom, when she was younger, when she just graduated high school, imagine being 18, graduating high school. Back then, these guys would give the students a gift when they graduated. You put a time capsule under one of the trees. Which trees? They were buried in front. So every one of them in front has a time capsule, a certain time capsule, things from that year. And yes, my mom has her class in there. She had told me they planted a plant, and many years later she had to remember that the time capsule was under there. So, guys, if you end up losing any of those trees, go to that time capsule, take it back in time, and maybe you could dress up like that day, and maybe you could be that year. Guys, and also, I would like you to know, this was actually haunted. Why? They went in the 2000s, early 2000s, I would say like 2 or 3, and they had reported that Sussex Wantage High School was haunted by a haunting team. Yes, I don't remember what ghost team went in there, but they said it's haunted, and I've had a few encounters of myself, and I think I need to see a psychiatrist because these were doozy ones, man. I could swear one day I seen a milk truck fly by. I looked down and there was no milk truck because at that time I was there, and Nobody was there. And who had reported it? The New Jersey Herald, that it was haunted. So guys, don't come after me. Go after New Jersey Herald. I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Next one is the A&P. The A&P was on here once before, but the A&P now, there was a stabbing. One time there was a girl walking in between there and the actual post office, and she was stabbed back in the day. And I don't think they found out who did it and why and where and when, but I remember it really well. Yes, so we have a couple of ones that the FBI really needed to come on, because these were actual, like, killings like you see on TV, but I never seen one around here. During World War II, yes, during World War II, they actually, you had to have, when they sound the sirens for air raid, even up here in the boonies, you had to have your lights off. Because if any cop come along and your lights wasn't on, you were in trouble, man. You were in big trouble. So you always made sure when that air siren went, you turned off all your lights, because you didn't want the cops coming there knocking on your door and actually giving you whatever they did back then, arrest you, whatever. I don't know what, but my mom said they didn't take a chance, and I said, what happens if you're young and you gotta go potty? It didn't matter. So there's another one for you kids. Back when I was younger, we had cows. Yes, when we grew up, we had more cows than we had people. Yes, but not these kind of cows. These are actually beef cows. So these weren't the ones that we actually have around here until later, like after 2010, I would say, or earlier. We had actually dairy cows, guys. This is what dairy cows look like. So yes, we would have our little Holsteins or whatever next door to us, and we had more cows than people. Well, they would not create that much mischief. If they got out, we would help the neighbor put their cows back in. We were so nice to each other that we would just, like, open the fence and say, get in. But the farmers today don't trust people, so they get kind of nasty, which is, I don't blame them, but you know what I mean, they get so hormonal. But the cows were actually better neighbors in some ways, because no matter how loud you let your son go, the cows would never complain. So in a way, I missed my cow days, because they never complained, and they were always nice to you. And actually, over across from Port Jervis School, they also had a dairy cows right next to them, or beside, no, I guess it was beside us. So I remember the dairy cows being there, and the smell, and the kids would complain, but I did a little complaining, but not as much. But I also remember my grandfather, my great-grandfather, and my grandfather was actually dairy farmers. So yes, I remember them, how they would say they would get sick, and if one of them had, like, a problem with them, they would try to work through it, and if they couldn't, they had to actually get rid of them. Back then, the actual agriculture people that took your milk would not allow certain products being in your milk and certain things in the milk room. It had to be so spick and span, and actually, back then in the barns, you could actually eat off the floor. I remember my mom said if you had a speck of dirt on the floor, they wouldn't pick up your milk. When my mom was a kid, this is what a dairy bowl looks like. They had one recently go nuts on the owner. The owner, they said on a news channel and in the paper, they actually had to, New Jersey Herald, they had to put him to sleep. Cops had to shoot him. They get that way. My mom reported when she was a kid, farm hands or anybody who owned a bull would accidentally fall in with the bull, and in breeding season or when they would be using them, they would get really nasty and go right after the owners. Yes, and they would gore them to death, and they would stomp them to death. So it must have been a pretty bloody scene to see. So that's actually happened when my mom was a kid. My mom said one time when she was younger, she remembers a guy her father went to go check on and a friend, and he'd actually deceased. When they took him over to get prepared to actually embalm him, he sat up on the thing, and they had said, what am I doing here? Alright, this guy lived a whole another entire week, and then he actually deceased. I would be afraid to work on that corpse because I'd be afraid he would jump up and really strangle me at that point. So this is why I'm not in that field, guys. When I was a kid, the fairgrounds wasn't in Augusta Fairgrounds. No, it was in Branchville, right from Selective Risk. You looked up and you probably could see the building back then. You went over the little bridge where their park is, and that's exactly right. It's back in the middle is where the old show used to be. It was a lot nicer, smaller. You had less traveling, but it was a little smaller, but it was nicer. You could spend a little bit more money. I really miss that old horse show grounds at the Branchville Fair. Well, the next one is the Inn. The Sussex Inn was actually a stagecoach. Stagecoaches would come, they would take their horses, they would put them down where the bar was, and yes, and up top was where you would stay, and they had a dining room and a kitchen, and that was the part where you went up on the porch. Yes, and also, it's haunted, guys, so watch it. You might see a haunting, but it's not in a thing, but I lived there. I had a couple of occurrences myself. So, guys, yes, if you're a ghost hunter, you might want to stay there for the night. Another one is the actual Fountain Square Inn. The Fountain Square Inn also was a stagecoach, a house. These two were the stagecoach houses, and they had their own facilities, and these horses would stay down at the barn. Yes, so if you're lucky, go to these two, maybe you'll see something. Another thing was, you might not know, is there's also Stagecoach Road. That's where the old stagecoach used to go up to. That's going towards the back, more towards like Sunrise Mountain, but it was more on Beamerville. You go back that way. Another one was Ronnie McDowell. Ronnie McDowell was here. Yes, there used to be Acme, or not Acme, there used to be Food Town, and there was also James Way. Well, there was a little food court. Well, he was there the one day. It was called Discount Skinny. He was there. He was signing autographs. Ronnie McDowell was there probably in the early 70s because I don't really remember him. So it was 72 or 73. And not only was he the famous one here, another one was Roy Rogers. Roy Rogers was here. We're in the parade in Newton. Yes, Roy Rogers and Trigger was in actual one of the parades up in Newton. My aunt had told me this, that she was in the newspaper that he was going to be there. We had two famous people, guys. Another one was in this house on Unionville Road, an actual wrestler, my mom said, had stayed there. He actually bought the house. Another thing is, he was a correctional facility officer after he retired wrestling. So yes, guys, there was 3 people that was famous here or more. Another one was my mother. My mother was Carolyn May Lewis. She actually was an amateur wrestler. She tried to go pro. Her manager had died, and she couldn't afford another $3,000 or $4,000. They were back then only allowed to wrestle in 3 states. That was it. The women, that's all they could wrestle. Now your next one is, the next one is Deckertown. Yes, this was all downtown Deckertown, and for some reason, they ended up, if you guys ever seen Decker this, Decker that, Deckertown Turnpike, Decker Cemetery, this was reason why, and for some reason they had changed it to Sussex. I don't know why. But a lot of them can get a little snippy that's named Decker because they knew that they were called Deckertown at one time or another. Another thing, guys, I want to put in here is with the cows, I never had the cows come home drunk. That was another thing that I figure would make it funny is, nope, they never come home drunk with a lampshade on their heads. Guys, we always had respect for our cows. Alright, guys, this is Carol Church Gardner signing off. Hit a like, hit a comment, make a comment, and make sure you hit that subscribe button. This is Carol Church Gardner, People, Places, Things, signing off. Have a good Monday. Hope you have a nice one.